Welcome to the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction's training module for the private school choice programs. This section of the training will explain how to enter the school's general information in the cover page and Schedule 1 of the Budget and Cash Flow Report. We will refer to the private school choice programs as choice or choice program throughout this training. The choice program is governed by Wisconsin Statute 119.23 and 11860, as well as Wisconsin Administrative Codes Chapter PI 35 and 48. The fiscal management trainings provide guidance with respect to how the agency is likely to apply the requirements in these statutes and rules. Provisions of the fiscal management trainings are subject to statutory and rule changes. This training will explain how to enter information into the Budget and Cash Flow Report Excel document. We will refer to the Budget and Cash Flow Report as the budget throughout this training. You must enter this information into your Excel document unless otherwise noted. Please pause the training if you need additional time to review the example or check your Excel document. As a reminder, to receive credit for having participated in this training, you will be required to upload the completed budget Excel document and the quiz you complete after all the trainings are done. The budget that is uploaded into the quiz must include all of the examples for Holy Love that are provided in each of the trainings. Completion of this training is required for all choice administrators of schools that are first-time participants in the choice program. If you have any questions as you complete this training, please note them. The department is providing live virtual Q&A sessions. The webpage that contains this presentation also has information on these Q&A sessions and a copy of the PowerPoint slides with the notes. You can ask questions on any of the trainings at the live Q&A sessions or email them to the department at dpichoiceauditreports@dpi.wi.gov. To begin, we will do a quick review of the 3 private school choice programs in Wisconsin. Schools can choose to participate in 1, 2, or all 3 of the programs. The determination of which program a student can apply for and participate in is based on where the student resides. Students who reside in the city of Milwaukee should apply to the Milwaukee Parental Choice Program. Students who reside in the Racine Unified School District should apply to the Racine Parental Choice Program. Students who reside in Wisconsin but do not reside in either the city of Milwaukee or the Racine Unified School District should apply to the Wisconsin Parental Choice Program. The applicant will be required to provide documentation showing that he or she currently resides at the address on the application. This training will provide examples that must be entered into the budget for a sample school, Holy Love. As part of the training, you must enter each of the examples into the budget and cash flow report. Please note that you will have to watch each of the recorded training modules to complete the sample budget. The purpose of these examples is to help the school to understand the choice program requirements and how to complete the budget and cash flow report. The example school will have errors and other issues after the training examples are entered. You should not try to resolve any errors or issues in the training examples unless the training specifically indicates you should resolve the issue. Let's start off by downloading the budget. Please enter the web address on the slide. Next, click on the link labeled Budget and Cash Flow Report in the Requirements for Training Completion section. The budget must be completed using Microsoft Excel. It cannot be completed using Google Sheets or an Apple product. Additionally, the budget should not first be downloaded to Google Sheets. The school should not make any formatting changes to the budget document and should not change headers, footers, or the document's print settings. For overall instructions on the budget, refer to the tabs labeled Instructions and Instructions Continued. Each schedule in the budget also has its own set of instructions which are intended to assist the person preparing the budget. Additionally, when the preparer of the budget is entering information in Excel, there are helpful comments that will be visible when the person places their cursor over a cell that has a red triangle in the top right corner. Please read the instructions in full when completing the budget. The instructions explain the steps to complete and submit the budget. The budget is required to be filled out at the legal entity level. This means all activities and balances for the legal entity must be included in the budget. For example, if the legal entity consists of a school for K through 8th grades and a church, all of the church activities and the K through 8th grades educational programming activities and balances must be included in the budget. Organizations of the same legal entity, if they have the same federal tax ID number and use it for all activities including payroll, and if they are not separately set up with the Department of Financial Institutions. Next, we will review the budget cover page. After opening the budget, please look at the bottom of the Excel document. At the bottom of the screen, you will see the different tabs of the budget. There are different tabs in the budget for each area, such as expenses and revenues. It is important that you complete all of the tabs in the budget. The arrows on the bottom, in the far left of the screen, will allow you to see the other tabs in the Excel document that aren't visible on the bottom. The red box on the right side of the screen is highlighting the scroll bar that moves the screen vertically up and down. If you have not previously used these features in Microsoft Excel, you can pause your video and take some time to become familiar with them. This is the budget's cover page. In Section 1 of this schedule, the school must enter the name of the legal entity of the school name, and the city. The school must also identify which programs the school wants to participate in. In Section 2 of this schedule, the school should put an X next to the second option. This indicates that the school is completing the budget that is due by May 1st. The Completeness Requirements section contains a list of the requirements the school must meet for the budget submission to be considered complete. The budget must be provided to DPI no later than the due date. The budget must be the final school version. It cannot be a draft. The budget must be signed by the choice administrator. The budget cannot have any errors on the error report. If the cover page indicates errors identified, review the error report to determine what errors are in the budget. We will go through the error report as part of this training. The budget must be prepared at the legal entity level. Finally, the budget must be submitted with all required attachments. The Required Attachments tab will identify which attachments must be submitted with the budget. We will go through this tab in a few slides. This is a screenshot of sections 4 and 5 on the cover page. The choice administrator listed on the intent to participate must electronically sign and date section 4. The choice administrator signs their name by typing it in the box. In section 5, the school must include the name of the individual preparing the report. For example, if the school's third-party accountant is assisting with the budget preparation, the accounting firm must be identified in this section. We will now begin working in the budget document we downloaded earlier. When completing the trainings, you should not enter information for your school into the budget. Instead, you must enter the information we will provide for the example school, Holy Love School. You will then upload this example budget into the Fiscal Management Training Quiz. Please find the tab in the Budget and Cash Flow Report titled Cover Page. Pause the video and take a few minutes to complete Section 1 and 2 of the cover page based on the information on this slide. The entity in our example is called Holy Love Church and School. When you are ready to proceed, resume the training. As you can see, we have filled in the name of the legal entity, school name, and school city from our example. The choice programs the school indicated it would participate in are the Milwaukee Parental Choice Program and the Wisconsin Parental Choice Program, so an X should be placed in the yellow box next to each of these programs. Additionally, you will need to check the second box in Section 2, which indicates you are completing the budget due by May 1. Next, we will discuss the Attachments tab, which identifies the required attachments that must be submitted with the budget. We will also review the error report. The budget will identify required attachments based on the information entered into the schedules. It is important to ensure that you correctly enter the school's information into the budget so that all attachments required for your school are identified on the Attachments tab. We will be discussing applicable attachments as we go through each schedule. We may also refer to an attachment as supporting documentation in this training. The Required Attachments tab may not identify all required attachments until the budget has been fully filled out. Please keep in mind that the budget is not considered complete until all required attachments are submitted with the budget. As the school completes the budget, the Required Attachments tab will identify which attachments must be submitted with the budget based on the information entered. A yes will appear in green in column B of this tab for any attachments that the school must submit. The school should review this tab after completing all of the schedules to ensure that all required attachments are submitted with the budget. All new schools submitting the May 1 budget must submit financial-related attachments. The school must submit a balance sheet for the legal entity of the school. The balance sheet must be dated between the end of February and May 1st of the year before the budget. The school must also submit an income statement for the period from July 1st to the end of February for the year before the budget. Additionally, the school must submit bank statements for all cash and investment accounts of the legal entity of the school that had a balance over $1,000 or gross activity of $10,000 or more during the school year. These statements must be dated no earlier than February. Finally, the school must submit its June 30th balance sheet and its income statement from July 1st to June 30th for 2 school years prior to the budget school year. Please note these financial statements must include all of the legal entity's financial information. For example, if a church and school are the same legal entity but have separate financial statements, the financial statements for both the church and school must be submitted. In addition, all cash and investment bank statements must be submitted for the church and school if they meet the threshold requirements. This is a screenshot of the error report. Please note the question mark column on the left. When the cursor is placed over the question mark, a comment will appear that explains the error and/or how to resolve the error. If you are not able to resolve the error, email a copy of your budget to DPI Choice Audit Reports at dpi.wi.gov and explain which error you are trying to resolve. We will then help you resolve the error. Please pause the training and take a few minutes to read through the question on this slide. Once you are ready to go through the answer, resume the training. The legal entity of the school includes a church. What activity, balances, and general information must be included in the budget? The correct answer is B. All of the legal entity's information must be included in the budget. This includes the church activity if the church has the same federal tax ID number as the school. Let's now move on to Schedule 1. In the Budget Excel document, please click on the tab located at the bottom part of the screen labeled Schedule 1 General Info. This slide contains a screenshot of the top part of Schedule 1. Please note the red box on the right side of this slide. This section identifies an error if any of the questions still need to be completed. If there are one or more errors on the side, the The error report will show an error for Schedule 1. Certain questions have drop-down lists. When you click on the cell, you can tell where there is a drop-down because it will have a drop-down arrow, as shown to the right in the red box. When you click on the down arrow, it will show you the options for that cell. You can click on the option applicable for your school. Please remember that not all areas of a budget have a drop-down list. However, if an area of the budget is not accepting the data you are entering, it may be because the input must be one of the items in a drop-down list. For question 5A, the school must select the operating organization of the school from the drop-down list. The drop-down options are: the school is its own operating organization, the church in 2B is the operating organization, or a different organization is the operating organization. If a different organization is the operating organization, the operating organization's name would need to be identified in question 5B. We will refer to the legal entity of the school as the organization during this training. This slide contains a screenshot of the middle part of the schedule labeled Debt Liabilities. In question 6A, the organizations must disclose any outstanding liens, levies, or disputed amounts with the government agency or any other organization. This line item is not for disclosing mortgages and loans that are in good standing. However, the school must identify mortgages or loans that are past due, not in compliance with any debt requirements or covenants, or where their lender has exercised a lien on the property. Failure to fully disclose the information in question 6 could result in the school not being allowed to participate in the program. The next part of Schedule 1 is labeled Transportation. In question 7A, the organization must disclose if it will be providing certain types of transportation. If the organization will be providing transportation, then they must disclose how it will be provided in question 7B. If the school intends to provide food, place an X next to all of the items the school will provide in question 8A. Question 8B asks how the food service will be provided. If food is provided directly by a third-party vendor, and if the students pay the vendor directly for the food, select third-party paid for by pupils in question 8B. When the students or students' parents are paying a third-party food provider directly, the food costs and revenues associated with this arrangement should not be included in the budget. If the organization is providing its own food services, complete columns B and C for lines 8D through 8F. If a contractor is providing food service for the school, complete columns B, C, and D for lines 8D through 8F. This would include situations where the school is paying a set dollar amount for lunch, breakfast, and/or milk to a third-party food provider. If a school is purchasing food from a vendor but preparing meals themselves and serving it, this budget should be completed based on the organization providing the food service. In that situation, the cost of the food would go on line 8H. The number served per day in column B should be the average number of K4 through 12th grade educational programming students that will receive meals each day. If a food contractor or the school provides food that is not for K4 through 12th grade educational programming students, the number of individuals that receive those meals should not be reported on lines 8D through 8F. Instead, the total cost for these individuals should be reported in line 8H and/or 8I, column B. Since the costs for these individuals aren't related to educational programming, the cost of their items should not be in lines 8H or 8I, column C. On line 8H, include any costs paid to a contractor other than the cost for meals and milk for K4 through 12th grade pupils, included in lines 8D through 8F. For example, this may include the amount paid to a contractor to provide food for a daycare that is part of the school's legal entity. Column C of line AH would include the portion of costs in column B that are eligible education expenses. Eligible education expenses are the expenses that are related to K-4 through 12th grade educational programming. We will talk about this in more detail in the training on Schedule 3. If the school indicated that it is contracting for food service or paying for food from a district in question 8B, and the school does not have any other contracted food costs, 0 must be inserted in line 8H, column B and C, or the school will receive an error. If a school is purchasing non-payroll food or food-related supplies itself instead of from a food vendor, the related costs must go in line 8I. This may include items such as the cost of utensils and trays or the cost to buy food from a grocery store. If question 8B indicates the school is providing food themselves, contracting for food service, or paying for food from a district, line 8I must be completed or the school will receive an error. Food service supplies can be costs for utensils, pots and pans, plates, napkins, etc. If the school does not have any food service supply costs, insert 0 in line 8I, columns B and C. In this next activity, please enter the information on the slide into the General section of Schedule 1. Pause the presentation while you complete the activity. Now let's review the top section of Schedule 1 titled General. For item 1, we entered the year the school began operating, which was 1966. We were also told that the school is affiliated with a church, so 2A was marked yes. The name of the church is Holy Love, and it has the same federal tax ID number as the school for 2B and 2C. Holy Love is not part of a synod, archdiocese, or other association of churches for question 3A. Question 4A asks about daycare, preschool. For Holy Love, the answer is yes. Question 4B asks if there are any non-school activities of the legal entity other than operating a church or daycare. Since Holy Love doesn't have any non-school activities other than the church and daycare childcare, you should type none for question 4B. Question 5A asks about the operating organization of the school. For Holy Love, the church is the operating organization. Next, please use this information to complete the debt, liabilities, transportation, and food services section of Schedule 1. Pause the presentation until you are ready to go through the answers for these sections. As discussed earlier, this section of Schedule 1 requires Holy Love to identify if it has any liens, levies, or disputed amounts, which it does not. In the next section, Holy Love must identify what kind of transportation it plans on providing and how it is being provided. For example, transportation is identified in 7A as to and from school and field trips. In 7B, we then indicate how it will be provided. For Holy Love, the local school district is providing the to and from school transportation free of charge, so we will not see any costs or revenues related to this transportation in the budget. However, for the contracted transportation costs for field trips, the school will need to include contractor transportation expenses in Schedule 3-3. We will go through this schedule later in the training. Similar to the transportation section, we identified what types of food service will be provided by Holy Love. We then identify how the food will be provided. In this example, a third-party vendor is providing the food and charging Holy Love for each meal or milk. So Holy Love needs to complete columns B, C, and D in lines 8D through 8F. As a reminder, only column B and C in 8D through 8F are completed if the school is providing breakfast, lunch, or milk itself. Since a Holy Love has a daycare, it must include the food costs related to the daycare on line 8H. The total food costs related to the daycare of $86,940 are recorded in column B. However, since daycare is not an eligible education expense, 0 should be entered in column C. We are seeing an error because 8I needs to be filled in. Later in the training on Schedule 3-2, we will add the information related to the food service costs, which will resolve this error. The department has bulletins available to help schools understand programmatic requirements. The Financial Audit and PACP SNSP Reserve Balance Bulletin describes the financial audit and how the reserve balance schedule works. The PSCP Eligible Education Expense Bulletin describes what expenses can be eligible for the Choice Program. There are also various bulletins available on the fiscal and internal control practices requirements and other program requirements. Additionally, the department has on-demand trainings available to help schools understand programmatic requirements. Schools are encouraged to review these bulletins and trainings throughout the year when there are questions on the choice requirements. Questions on this training, including questions on the budget and cash flow report, should be directed to DPI Choice Audit Reports at dpi.wi.gov rather than a specific auditor. This mailbox is monitored by all of the Choice Program auditors. If you have general Choice Program questions, they should be directed to the Choice Program consultants at Private School Choice at dpi.wi.gov.